Well, hello. This is Jesse Prieston from Decouple. I'm here in my temporary home studio in Belgium, where I'm working on some new videos about what we might call the Great European Energy Pickle. More on that to come. Of late, Decouple's been very busy running around Scotland and Germany trying to get some answers from authorities about what the actual plan is to get off fossil fuels. Turns out getting straight answers from German or Canadian officials on that question is about as difficult as trying to get all the popcorn kernels to pop without burning any of them. One person that did give us some straight answers, though, was Hollywood's most misunderstood parent himself, Darth Vader. We found the Dark Lord just outside the gates of COP26 singing 80s musical parodies about geoengineering.
Won't you come see about these? We've got solutions to exponential planetary overheating.
Vader turned out to be Jamen Shively, a former executive at Microsoft and an early advocate for and investor in legalized cannabis.
There's a high-powered new business venture in the works to create a national brand to sell, and want to be precise, to sell marijuana. It's the brainchild of a former Microsoft high executive and the former Mexican president Vicente Fox.
The Berlin Wall of the prohibition of cannabis is weak.
For me, the question here is, will Shively turn out to be as prescient about geoengineering as he was about cannabis?
When you walk away, what are you walking away from? Actual solutions to planetary overheating. Actual solutions that we can implement that will actually cool the planet, as opposed to this myopic focus on decarbonization. Don't get me wrong, decarbonization, great, wonderful. It's just too little too late at this point, having crossed through tipping point after tipping point.
So this is Jamen Shively.
At your service.
Wonderful. Civil and environmental engineer. You studied hydroclimatology.
Yes.
MIT, was it?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So tell me more what you're about, what you're doing here in this wonderful outfit.
Yeah. So I've always been an activist for different causes throughout my life, and as an environmental engineer, I have deep knowledge that goes back decades about the problem of exponential planetary overheating.
Right.
And it's not climate change, it's global warming. The planet is getting hotter as a whole.
More energy is being trapped.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so as an engineer, it's my training and my career to find solutions to problems, right? And so I have searched and talked with many of the experts who are here and organized meetings. I'm also program chair of the Sierra Club dinners in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I brought a number of scientists there to have conversations with other environmentalists. And after years of digging, we have discovered other people's work that we believe is the secret to actually cooling our planet, which is a two-step process. We first have to stop the exponential overheating and then reverse it, right? So, and to do that, we need much stronger medicine than just decarbonization alone. Decarbonization is wonderful, but decarbonization alone is not going to get us there, not even anywhere close.
That's a very controversial opinion, right? I mean, any talk about adaptation, or that's not solely rooted in decarbonization gets you certain labels, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of engineering, it's very interesting because I find, as you're saying, engineers are very problem oriented.
Yeah.
And almost like the more problems there are, or the harder it is to solve, they get like a sick rush off of that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting, like talking about pragmatics, right? And I think that's probably what's drawing you to what you're about to tell us about.
Absolutely. We need a solution that works, not just one that sounds nice, right? Or that is appealing in the sense that, oh, that solution's natural, so let's go with that, right? We don't want technology. Geoengineering has gotten quite a bad name, and it's a baby in the bathwater thing. And the reality is there's a lot of stinky turds floating in that bathwater, and so there's an inclination to, well, let's just throw out everything.
Or like CO2 emissions are geoengineering, no?
Well,
Can you look at it that way?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
You know, we are however inadvertently, we have re-engineered the planet and the heat balance of the planet to be a tremendous imbalance in favor of exponential planetary overheating, caused by our high-tech combustion of coal, gas, petroleum, etc.
Right. So yeah, there's numbers of schools of geoengineering. I've heard of ocean seeding.
Yes.
Are you kind of all of the above on geoengineering? Are there certain aspects that you think are more more beneficial or less harmful or less side effects?
So I'm certainly open to analyzing any solution and then determining just on its merits, right? Both its intended consequences and its unintended consequences, right? There's really two ways that we can do geoengineering, and I think both are actually valid. One is, like you said, about, for example, supplementing the iron content of the oceans to promote phytoplankton growth, to promote the absorption of carbon, deacidification. That's all. I'm in favor of that one, for example. The other whole side of it is solar radiation management, right? Increasing the albedo or reflectivity of the planet as a whole.
Which we're going in the wrong direction on with the melting of the ice caps, loss of snow cover.
Absolutely. No,
all this black pigment.
we are at a point where the planet is overheating at a rate of hundreds of boops per year. Now, what's a boop? A boop, and this came out of research done by BP, hence the name boop. One boop is the total amount of energy consumed by humanity in 1 year in all forms. Wind, solar, burning gasoline, coal, burning dung, burning firewood. And all the that's one boop, so it's a lot of energy. Okay.
So global primary energy used by humans is one boop. I like this term. I haven't heard of this unit before.
Yeah. It came out of extensive research by BP. It makes sense.
So we're adding how many boops just by
on the order of
the greenhouse gas effect.
200 or 300 per year.
Okay.
I mean, if we were adding one boop of net accumulated, it would be a big deal.
So I'm guessing that you're not a huge proponent of carbon capture and sequestration as a practical engineering solution.
Oh no, I'm all in favor of carbon capture.
Do you think that's practical if we're putting 20 boops in the air, that we can have the energy to recapture those 20 boops and the infrastructure to reverse that whole process that gives us the benefits of energy, but actually in this case would suck energy and help the climate? But I mean, is that something as an engineer you feel is practical, or do you have a more serious solution? And then we're going to talk about, I think you're mostly into solar radiation. You have a great board here. I'm going to do a rapid fire with you.
Absolutely.
And you're going to give me the all the drawbacks and your answers to them.
Absolutely.
So first off, practicality of carbon capture. Is that what you're about, or?
No. Listen, I'm totally supportive of carbon capture and sequestration. Right now, we don't have anywhere near the technology to do that in any kind of a scalable way. We have to be clear on that. There's one exception to that, which is that if we change our diet to a plant-based diet and we return to nature all this land that has been stolen for animal agriculture and let nature bounce back as it did in certain areas during COVID, that is the best way to sequester carbon. Let the forests do it naturally. Hey,
You got a sign here with the objections to marine cloud brightening. So this is that idea of having boats that are kind of directed around the ocean, spraying fine mists into the air. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Creating bright white clouds to reflect sunlight back into space. And so we explain that that's the easy part, and then a lot of people have objections, or a lot of objections have been raised.
So I'll go through them for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want you to give me like a real rapid fire.
Absolutely.
Right, because we're trying to keep this short.
Sure, no problem.
So it's going to upset weather patterns. Don't read it, but
it won't upset weather patterns. It will make weather patterns better. It will bring us back to a stable equilibrium that we've gotten so far away from.
It'll take years to decide if it's working.
No, actually, it'll take probably weeks to months to figure out that it's working. We know that it'll work. Experiments have been done, so we already know.
And because of volcanoes, we know as well, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's going to reduce our decarbonization progress.
Well, that's up to us, right? I mean, just because I have a solution to put out a house that's on fire that got started by kids playing with matches doesn't mean that it's going to reduce that's going to reduce the incentive for kids not to play with matches. I mean, it's ridiculous. We need to be responsible.
We're gonna keep going here, rapid fire.
Yeah.
This one I've heard before, and it was quite worrisome to me. But sudden termination, if this thing, for whatever reason, is politically blocked, etc., then the carbon's still there, and we have this huge rebound effect. First, just tell me what that rebound effect is, and if you are not worried about it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not worried about it because the hard part is getting the technology completed so that we can roll out the marine cloud brightening solution. Once we have the solution, maintaining it is trivial compared to the investment. So there is really no minimal termination shock risk in the first place.
So quick aside then, in terms of practicality of this, how many boats, how much is each boat, what percentage of GDP is the solution?
Yeah, great questions. So the number of vessels, and this is an image by Professor Stephen Salter, University of Edinburgh here in Scotland. That's right, and a brilliant Scotsman. His estimates are that we need on the order of 1,000 such vessels in order to cool the planet. And the total cost to that, including budget for maintenance and everything, $10 billion total.
What are they powered by? What's the energy source?
Wind and waves. No hydrocarbon burning.
Sounds very close to a perpetual motion machine, but
well, I mean,
it sounds too easy.
Well, sailboats exist; they're not professional.
Right. And you don't need much energy because you're just misting some water.
Well, we efficiently convert the wind energy into mechanical energy to pump the water, first to filter it and then spray it. And the total amount of water
don't need to desalinate it, just filter it.
No, in fact, the salt is our friend because the salt provides the condensation crystal, right, upon which these can persist and be actual droplets that persist for quite a while, several weeks.
So $10 billion, 1,000 boats, and I'm a little skeptical of the energy required, but I'm convinciable. Let's just keep running here.
Sure.
Technology's unproven. I think you already addressed that.
Yep.
Moral authority. Like, who does this? Is there some convention? Do the nations of the world need to come together?
Well, that's a really interesting question because seeing how much gridlock we have here in the COP meetings, one of the strategies that we're pursuing is to just get private capital to invest in this. Definitely make it all public, but don't go around trying to convince people who aren't willing to be convinced. Just raise the money and just do it. Right.
When should we start? Because with this albedo effect, as we were saying, as the ice caps shrink, as the glaciers, like Antarctic glaciers start to fall into the ocean and calve, it starts to run into some runaway positive feedback loops. So do we wait till we hit 1.5 degrees? Do we start right now? Do we build these boats right now?
We do them right now because again, we're actually measuring the wrong thing and focused on the wrong. If we're focused on temperature, we're focused on a trailing indicator. The leading indicators are how much heat are we actually absorbing. That we've got very good estimates of, and it's hundreds of boops per year. Boops. A lot of boops, right? We got a problem with...
We're having a boo-boo with our boops.
We're having a boo-boo with our boops, and we need to do a boop reduction program. We need some serious boop reduction.
Boop reduction.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Okay, we got a few more to work through, so let's get this done quickly.
Yeah.
Who cares? Can't agree on the right temperature, blah, blah, blah. Just an expense.
Yeah.
Whatever. Over the poles, disruption. Sorry, guys, but
that's all right.
Unknown side effects. Yeah, what are the unknown side effects?
Here's the thing. The planet is overheating exponentially.
And again, just for all our listeners, this is because of solar energy that's coming in, greenhouse gases there, infrared gets reflected back and trapped by molecules like CO2 and methane.
Exactly.
And it's like you said in boops, you can measure. It seems like that's a really convenient unit of measurement for you because rather than like watts per square meter, I like it. You can get your head around a boop.
Exactly.
And boop, boo, boo, and a boop reduction.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, Darth Vader.
Yes, sir.
Why Darth Vader?
For two reasons. Number one, it gets everyone's heads turning. What the heck is going on here, right? And then I combine that with singing Spanish love songs, and it's like, whoa, right? And it gets their attention, and then they say, okay, what the heck is this guy here for, right? But another reason is that Darth Vader symbolizes just this terminal evil, this extreme evil and greed and hoarding, and we can have all the power, right? Which is, one of our root problems that's causing all this. And so for both those reasons, and, it just gets people curious. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
Have you ever been inside COP?
No, I haven't been inside COP.
Would you prefer to be inside?
No, I'd prefer to be outside. Because here we're totally unconstrained, we're totally free, and we're able to really get radical and have just free-flowing conversations out in the open air. Yeah, I just love it out here.
Okay. And the other one is just the law of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So just almost every human intervention always produces things that the person who's doing it doesn't expect are going to happen, right?
Well, in this case, a good analogy would be a house is on fire, there's kids in the attic. If we put out the fire, what are the unintended consequences? Well, one of those kids in the attic could grow up to be an axe murderer, right? So, I mean, if we do nothing, there will be a consequence that we're all going to die.
Right.
If we put out the fire, we have a chance to live, and when we live, well, there's all kinds of unintended consequences to living, right? But I'd rather be alive so that we can fight another day and work on solving the rest of our problems, but we've got to get a handle on this one first if we want.
We've put out fires in houses millions of times already. We haven't done any of these things yet.
That's right.
And there's a way more complex system than wood burning in a house.
That's certainly true, but there was also a first time that water got sprayed on a burning wooden structure, and nobody knew what would happen then. Did that mean that we shouldn't have tried? No, obviously it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do then, it's the right thing to do now. The planet's on fire, we've got to put out the fire.
Cada momento voy tropezando en desamor, y es que no queda nada entre tú y yo.
So, do you agree with the Dark Lord himself that decarbonization is not going to be enough and that the planet needs an emergency boop reduction? Thousands of boats roaming around the oceans, spraying fine mist into the air, trying to reflect the sun's rays back up into space. Definitely sounds a little crazy, but maybe not as crazy as trying to adapt to exponential global warming. For an argument against marine cloud brightening, we'll include in the description a link to a briefing by Geoengineering Monitor. Also, if you want to keep going deeper into everything energy related, be sure to check out the Decouple podcast with Dr. Chris Kiefer. Just recorded his 100th episode. That's 95 more episodes than HBO's Chernobyl series. Way to go, Chris.